Hello, Lindsay. How are you?
Hello, Aubrey. I'm doing fantastic. How are you? How's it going?
Excellent. I have a question. This is
All right.
interesting. Do
Yeah.
you know anyone who is careless?
Oh, luckily not blatantly super dangerously careless, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me ask, would you feel like
Mhm.
it would be different if I asked you, do you know anyone who is not careful?
That would be
Is
me
that
probably in a lot of cases.
right? I'm clumsy. I'm not always careful. It's
Yeah, yeah,
different, right? There's a
yeah.
difference here.
Yeah, I can be forgetful. I can maybe leave a burner on a stove or something. I don't know.
Absolutely. I often leave cupboard doors open. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it drives my partner crazy coming through the
Ah,
kitchen, closing the cupboard doors, every
that's
now and
so
then
funny.
standing up and hitting your head on one of them. Like, "I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. Do you
really
have a real
terrible about that."
do you guys have a real personality difference there in that way?
Yes.
Yeah,
He is very
interesting.
careful to
Okay.
always, pick up behind himself and
Uh,
close cupboard doors, and I am definitely more likely to do, all of these things.
Interesting. All right, so we're getting into some really good stuff today. I feel like what we're going to do today is going to be extremely nuanced for our high, for our listeners
Yes.
at the intermediate level, the B1, B2, but even for our C1 listeners, guys, super advanced, you're going to learn a real nuance today. Really interesting.
Absolutely, because the average
Mhm.
English speaker, if you ask them, "What's the difference between careless and not careful?" Even native
Mhm.
speakers might say, they seem the same." You have to
Yeah.
really think about it and pay attention to the nuance to tell the difference.
Yeah, you gotta come to All Ears English to find out the
Yes,
difference for these things because we
absolutely.
love to do this. We love to go in and figure out what is the difference, what's the meaning and tone, and what you really mean behind the word. But we have another episode to send you guys to, and that is episode 2137 called This Friday or Next Friday: How to Clarify Calendar Dates in English. Aubrey, I think this is a challenge for our listeners,
Yes, it's
right?
true, and for native speakers as well. There are definitely
Yes.
times I'm like, "Wait, this coming Friday or next
I
Friday?
know.
This coming June or next June?"
Yeah, and what you just said is a big hint to the key of the episode, using the
Exactly.
word this coming or this past. So, guys, go check out that episode. You are definitely not going to want to miss that if you ever make plans for anything at all, which most of us do, right? At some point.
Yes. Exactly, and if you missed it, you might be missing a lot of great episodes, so be sure to hit
Yes.
follow here on the podcast so that 4 episodes a week can just drop right into your queue.
Love that. So good. All right, Aubrey, should I go ahead and read Mauro's question to start off?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. First of all, great episode 2112, When Pigs Fly. It's awesome that we get to learn new things with you guys in just a couple of minutes every day. Oh, you're gonna have to read this part.
Okay, yes,
Aubrey,
because
this
he
is
sent this to
French.
me,
Give us
and
a
he's
great
French, so
accent.
he said, "J'ai une question pour toi,"
I love it.
which means I have a question for you.
Yeah, your French accent is so great. So
Oh,
he
thank you.
he said, I was watching a show and I heard the phrase, you should be less careless. I wonder which one sounds more natural or correct for you. Less careless or, and he said, ooh, the French version of
Yes,
or,
ooh.
more careful. And it's from Mauro.
Yes, thank
Amazing.
you for this great question, Mauro, because this is interesting. It's not something that native speakers think about very often, these
Mhm.
small differences. And a lot of this is more about the feeling behind it,
Yes.
the implied criticism. Because if someone were to say you should be less careless, that's quite critical. Like there's a lot
Yes.
of implied, you're very upset with someone's actions if you say that to them.
Oh, for sure. It's much more direct and intense. It's saying something bigger than
Much
you
bigger.
should be more careful. Right. So, all right, let's get into it. So, are both natural and correct, would you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I feel like I hear them both, I say them both,
Mhm.
but the meaning is a little bit different. We would
Yes.
use them in a different context. They're not exactly interchangeable, I think.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, all right. So, where do we go from here then? What's next?
Yeah, so if we have these very simple sentences, he is careless and
Mhm.
he is not careful, these
Yeah.
are different. So let's describe how. The word
Yeah.
careless, what is
Yes.
implied there, Lindsay?
So it is more blatant. It's more extreme, right? It means it's a lack of attention, but a blatant lack of attention, right? And it's a lack of attention and kind of also a lack of concern or a lack of worry. Maybe that's the key difference, Aubrey.
I think that really is the key difference, right? When I looked up the
Mm,
definitions, right? Careless as lack of attention, concern, or worry. So
mhm.
not only are they not being careful,
They don't
they don't
care.
really care that they're not being
Ah,
careful. That's big.
okay. That's it. Because I feel like when it comes to careful, which we'll flip over to in a minute, I feel like we can not be careful, but kind of not realize that we're not being careful. It can be an accident,
More
don't you think?
ignorance of it. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
Whereas careless is not accidental. right? That's a good point. So
Mm.
it's like you're not giving enough attention or thought to avoiding harm or errors, whereas
Mhm.
not being careful feels more accidental.
Yeah, so it also implies maybe a laziness or a lack of
Mm,
concern or maybe a meanness because you don't care,
yeah. Right,
right?
exactly. An example might be, if you say he is careless with his appearance and rarely combs his hair, we would not
Mhm.
say he is not careful with his appearance. That sounds
Mm.
strange to me if
Right,
we mean to imply like he doesn't care. He's kind
right.
of lazy about it. It's just not concerned.
Yeah, it's more about the personality, isn't it? Right? Kind
Yeah.
of paints the entire person and personality more than
Right.
careful. I think careful is probably more event based, right?
Right.
Or she's careless with her work and often makes mistakes, right? Not good. Not good.
Right. And this
Mhm.
doesn't just mean like accidentally not being careful enough, right?
Yeah.
It's if you say she is careless with her work, it's more like she also doesn't care, right? I guess that's right
Yes.
in the word, less care. That
Yeah,
if you flip
that's
it, right?
right, Carolyn. Right. I love it. So good. Okay, now let's flip over to careful. We've already kind of hinted at the differences, but is there anything here, Aubrey, that we missed that we should add to the key difference? What is
Yeah,
careful?
just mostly that lack of in the definition here, we don't have this lack of concern or worry. Careful
Mhm.
means like showing thought and attention,
Mhm.
making sure to avoid potential danger, harm, cautious. So the opposite, not careful, doesn't really mean not careless, right? There's not
Yeah.
a lack of concern or worry here.
Yeah, it's just I think you said ignorance, right? There may be
Yeah.
s- it may be that you're not aware that you have to be careful. So you're not being careful with something,
Right,
right?
exactly. If someone were to trip on the sidewalk, for example, they weren't
Yeah.
being careful where they were stepping, but we would not call them careless because it had nothing to do with how much they were concerned or how lazy they were, how worried they were about something. Really, it's just they
Right.
weren't looking where they were walking.
Yeah, or I'm thinking about like a kid in a china shop, right? You know that expression, you break it, you bought it, right? You always
Yes.
hear your parents saying when they take you to like antique shop. At least I did. I grew up in New England, so my parents were always taking
Mm.
me through stuffy antique shops when I was a kid. I hated it so much.
Oh,
And I
that's
feel
funny.
like I heard
They're
that
like, "Don't
expression
touch
so
anything."
many times. You break it, you bought it, kid, right? And so that,
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be, but of
Yeah.
course I broke things anyway. So I wasn't careful, but I wouldn't say I was careless. Like I wasn't running around saying, I don't care if I break things, but maybe I was just unaware I was a kid. My
Exactly.
jacket just brushed something. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this brings up something that I thought about as I planned this episode that my children, like if one of my children broke a glass,
Hmm.
as a mother, I would correct them. I would never say, be less careless, right? You're careless. It feels so critical and harsh to say that. I'm
Oh,
assuming that they don't care and they're whereas I would say, oh, be more careful next time. No problem.
yeah.
Just be more careful in the future because
Right.
that doesn't imply this lack of worry and concern that I shouldn't be assuming about them.
Yeah, because I feel like kids, and maybe until they're teenagers, they can't really be careless yet. They don't really know. Like, I don't think that they have that
Exactly.
mindset of not caring yet. They just sort of
Right.
figuring out the
They're
world.
making a mistake in ignorance, they're clumsy, right? They very unless they, like, are in order to make a point and they intentionally, like, threw the glass.
Right.
That okay, that's a different situation, but it probably
Mhm.
was an accident, so I wouldn't say, "Be less careless,"
Yeah, I think that would be hurtful for
or "Don't
sure
be
to a
so
kid.
careless." Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that.
No, too much, too much. Do we have a role play for our listeners today?
Yeah, let's do a role play. You and I are baking a cake in this role play.
Okay, sounds
I'll
good.
start us
Very
out.
hard to bake a cake. Here we go.
Yes, right. "Oh, no, I just dropped an egg on the floor. I'm sorry, I'll clean it up."
Oh, no worries. That could happen to anyone.
"Oh, be careful, the floor is wet."
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Okay, so
Oh.
this is interesting because you'll notice we did not use the word careless. Would
Mhm.
you ever tell an adult to not be careless?
No.
I can't
No, it would
imagine a
be an
scenario.
attack. It would be
Yeah.
an attack. Maybe if it was a good friend and we were sitting down, they were asking for advice on their life, but even then, I feel like it'd be very blunt if I said, "I see that sometimes you're careless with XYZ."
Yeah,
Even
no,
that
I
would be
can't.
hard to say to
You
an
might
adult.
say it about an adult, like if you were saying, like, I feel like she was careless with your feelings when she said this, but
About
I
an
can't.
adult. Right.
That'd be different, right? I wouldn't tell someone that they were careless. And so in this role play, I was trying to use I'm like, "Okay, let's see. How can I use careless? How I can" and I thought it brought up an interesting point that we
Yeah.
wouldn't say to an adult even here, I dropped an egg on your floor. I said, "I'm sorry, I'll clean it up." I don't think you would ever say, "Please be more careful next time." Like, I might say that to one of my children, but you wouldn't say
Right.
it to an adult.
Right, right. I could say about myself, if I dropped the egg, "I'm sorry, I
Sure.
wasn't being careful. I
Right. Or,
should
"Oh,
have
I'll
been
try
more
to be more
careful."
careful." Right.
Right.
But you wouldn't say
Mhm.
it to someone. Instead, you'd say this, what you said in the role play. No worries. It could happen to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. We're not trying to have any drama when we're baking this cake because it's hard enough to bake anyways, to be precise
Exactly.
with the we need
Right.
all
And
our
then I did
resources.
use be careful when I said, oh, be careful. The floor is wet. But I'm
Mhm.
not telling you, like, "Ugh, please be more careful next time. Don't drop the egg. This is different. It's something you're not aware of. So it's a warning. Like, be careful. Don't slip
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
floor.
if you said that, I would not wanna bake cakes at your house anymore. I'd
We'd
be
be
like,
done baking cakes.
It's too
Please be more
strict."
careful. Okay. We
Oh,
can't bake a cake.
it actually makes me think of the show America's Worst Cooks. Have you
Oh,
seen it?
no. I
Oh,
haven't.
it's good. Oh, you've gotta see it. It's on the
That
cooking
sounds
channel,
really
on the
entertaining.
Food Network. Oh, it's so good,
I
and
could
I
probably
could
be
s
on that show.
Mhm. I could see maybe I mean, because Anne Burrell or Burrell, she's a famous chef, right? And
Mm.
she's on there judging or trying to help these cooks who just have no clue what to do. Maybe she would berate someone and, "You're careless in the kitchen," but it would be very extreme, and it's in a scenario where you're ready for that kind of insult, right? That's the
Right.
point of the show.
I feel like this is something Gordon Ramsay might say on one of
Yes.
his shows, right? Call someone
Yes.
careless because he's intentionally being rude
Yep,
because it
yep.
makes for good TV.
All those shows are like that, you know?
Mhm, absolutely.
So fun. So check out that show, guys. If you wanna feel good about your cooking skills, that's a
Yeah,
good place to go.
yes. So, guys, first of
What's the
all,
takeaway?
Mauro, thank you for this amazing question. Send in questions like this, you guys. If you hear 2 similar phrases, maybe native speakers are using them and you're not really seeing why are they choosing one over the other, there's
Right.
probably a little nuance like this that it does make a difference. Like, you are implying something if you call someone careless.
Yes, and this is really what we wanna be learning, guys. This is what brings us up to the 99% fluency level, up to that C1 level. This is where we add nuance, interest, and connection to our language. Good stuff.
Absolutely, yes, right? So you could say this to a child, don't say it to an adult.
Be careful, right?
Yes.
All right, Aubrey, good stuff today, guys. Hit follow if you love All Ears English, and we'll see you in 4 episodes every week. Good stuff, Aubrey.
Awesome. See you
Take
next
care.
time. Bye.
Bye.